Before you spend a single dollar renting or buying in Brickell, you need to understand this. Most people have no idea where Brickell actually begins, ends, or how small the neighborhood really is. So I'm putting you in the passenger seat and driving around the entire perimeter, the same tour I give my clients, so you know exactly what you're getting into before you make a move. People affectionately call Brickell the Manhattan of the South, and it's easy to see why. Brickell's a densely populated area with skyscrapers, and as much as we like the reference, Brickell's not Manhattan. It's probably the closest thing in Miami to Manhattan, but it's significantly smaller. So let's take a ride so you get a real sense of Brickell. We're starting here at the border between Old Brickell and New Brickell. New Brickell's to the left and Old Brickell's to the right. Someone corrected me in one of my videos saying that it isn't Old Brickell and New Brickell. It's North Brickell and South Brickell. We're on 15th Street crossing over Brickell Avenue heading toward Brickell Bay Drive. It's approximately 8 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday, November 18th. I just dropped my daughter off at school, so apologies for the sun. We're going to go around the perimeter of the New Brickell or the North Brickell area to give you a sense of how big Brickell really is. I won't be going down South Brickell in this video. It's mostly residential and there isn't a whole lot to see. We're fortunate to have this scenic drive so close to us in Brickell. I try to take advantage of this view as often as I can. It always seems to put a smile on my face. It's a great way to start the day. As we go around Brickell, I'll point out some things. You're my passenger and I'm your tour guide. The camera's pointed slightly toward the right, so I'll focus mostly on the right side. There may be an occasional on the left side, but I'll try to focus on the right. Maybe I should redo this video, but going in the opposite direction so the camera picks up the other side. Let me know in the comments if you'd like me to do that. I'll also point out buildings and construction projects in the area. If you'd like more information on any of the buildings mentioned, please let me know. I'll also put all of these mentioned items in the description. In front of us, that white tower, it's the Jade. Famous personalities such as Andy Murray, Pudge Rodriguez, and Juan Pablo Montoya were said to have lived in that building at some point. This was one of the buildings that set the standard for luxury in Brickell. This other white building in front of us now is Brickell House. As I make this turn, you'll see a red awning on the ground level of Brickell House. That's LPM, a French restaurant. Great food, great vibe. I was there last week for happy hour. Maybe I'll put some photos up to give you an idea. Ahead of us to the right with the red base is the Mark on Brickell. Before we get to that building, you'll notice an empty parking lot. That's going to be the site for the Citadel Tower. Ken Griffin, the CEO of Citadel, bought that property in 2022. Fun fact, they just requested approval for that tower to be the tallest one in Miami. We'll see if that happens. But back to the Mark. It's one of the earlier condos built in the area. It has a tennis court. It also has a restaurant on the first floor called Crazy About You. Just past the Mark are two buildings, the Yacht Club on Brickell and the Brickell Bay Office Tower. Those were bought by Aimco, a Denver-based real estate investment trust. Rumors were they were going to demolish those towers to build a super tall complex with a mall. But it appears those rumors were false because as of August 2025, Aimco is in discussions to sell both buildings. I guess the takeaway is, expect at some point for those buildings to be demolished and replaced. Next, you'll notice four mid-rise towers. That's the four ambassadors. They were built in the 60s and definitely give off that old Miami feel with the chandeliers and so forth. But there are some hidden gems in there. Scala, for example, is a small theater venue. And sometimes you can catch concerts, and that small venue gives you an intimate sort of feel. They also have some nail shops and barbers, as well as restaurants. Actually, all the way toward the end of the last tower is Delilah's. It's a sort of nondescript high-end restaurant with a deck overlooking the bay. It has this sort of clandestine side entrance vibe, but make sure you leave your phone in your pocket. They have a strict no phone, no camera policy, since you never know who you're going to run into. At the light, I'll be taking a right onto Brickell Avenue. Directly in front of us in the distance is the Brickell City Center. And in front of the Brickell City Center, you may notice some signs and a mound of rubble. That's the site for the 120 Brickell Residences project. It's going to be a 34-story tower with 266 residences, options for studios, 1, 2, and 3 bedroom floor plans, plus each residence is paired with its own private office suite, complete with dedicated elevators, conference room access, and concierge services. Okay, now we're on Brickell Avenue. Directly ahead of us is the Icon. The Icon is on the Brickell side of the river. The Icon was a large project with 3 towers. It has a hotel in there. I think it's the W. They have an upscale Mexican restaurant, Cantina La Veinte, as well as an upscale Italian restaurant, Cipriani. I'm going to make this turn left onto 5th Street. This is the last light before the bridge, and since we're focusing on going around the perimeter of Brickell, I don't want to cross the bridge into downtown. I do my best to give you an authentic view of Brickell. That being said, you're about to see one of Brickell's biggest nuisances, the Brickell Drawbridge. They try not to open it during high morning and afternoon traffic periods, but it looks like I was unlucky this morning. This is one of the things that will definitely back up traffic on Brickell Avenue. I've sped up the footage, but I was stuck here for 10 minutes. And also, I couldn't help but notice that we're in a left turn only lane. Yeah, I realize it's a red light, but if I were the first car, I'd probably go. Maybe that's just me being impatient. Let me know in the comments. Would you make this left turn with the red light and the bridge up? Oh, wow. Now we have this guy relaxing in the wrong lane. Welcome to Miami. I guess you get used to it after a while. You just sort of expect the unexpected. Coming up on the right, this construction is the Viceroy Residences. This will be a 45-story luxury tower along the Miami River with studio, 1-bedroom, and 2-bedroom units. It's expected to open in 2026. I'll make this left turn. On the right, you'll see the 5th Street Metro Mover station. I could continue to go straight, but that turns into a bit of a maze, and I don't want to throw you off. Turning left here gives you a better sense of the perimeter of Brickell. In front of us is the Brickell City Center. I'll be turning right onto 6th Street. The Brickell City Center is an indoor-outdoor style mall that opened around 2016 or so. It has 2 residential towers in it, the Rise and the Reach. On the right, you'll notice some more construction. This tower is called the Standard Residences. This will be a 45-story tower with 407 residences, which will house studios, 1-bedrooms, and 2-bedrooms. Directly in front of us, that black and white building, is the AC Hotel. On the top floor is Rosa Sky. It's a fun bar and lounge that overlooks the city. So if you're considering a visit to experience Brickell firsthand, maybe that's a hotel for you. You may notice this stuff in green ahead of us. This is the Miami Underline project. Miami began this project a few years back. Essentially, they're working to turn all the space under the Metro Rail tracks into parks and usable areas for residents. They put in picnic tables, seating, ping pong tables. The city sponsors activities for kids and so forth, so it's a great use of space. Now we're coming up to the western edge of Brickell, 2nd Avenue. I'll make a left turn here. And this is the most expensive gas station in Brickell, $5 a gallon. Yeah, I try to avoid this gas station. It's on the edge of Brickell. I feel like it's strategically placed to get tourists on their way out of Brickell, so that's a quick tip from a local. This Ace hardware is brilliant. If you need to pick up some hardware for a quick job in your condo, you can walk over. It even has a small parking lot so you can drive over. If you have bigger jobs, sure, take that 10-minute drive to Home Depot, but for those small things, this Ace hardware is perfect. This building on the right is Magnus Brickell, followed by Brickell 10, then Domus Flats, then Maison. On the left, across the street from Maison, will be the Mercedes-Benz building. I don't want to rattle off a bunch of numbers and descriptions for those projects. I'll leave those URLs in the description. Of course, feel free to reach out if you have any questions on those projects. Again, this road is essentially the western edge of Brickell, and it's sometimes called West Brickell. Believe it or not, all of these towers on the right went up within the last 10 years. These used to be houses and 2-story apartment complexes. There's no shortage of construction in Brickell. Everywhere you look, you see cranes. Even here in front of us is Domus Park in Brickell, yet another project. I've turned left onto 15th Street. This is the southern edge of North Brickell. We're now headed back toward where we started. Brickell is a densely populated area. It's highly walkable, it's clean, everything is here at your disposal, but it's significantly smaller than Manhattan. Brickell's only a mile or so long by a mile wide, maybe 4 or 5 blocks by 8 or 9 blocks. So now that you've seen Brickell from edge to edge, if you're considering making this neighborhood your home, I can guide you through every building we've covered, from the classics to the new construction towers. Brickell's my backyard, and I'd be happy to help you rent or buy the perfect place. Just message me with the buildings you're curious about. That's it for me, and I'll leave you with one more view of the bay.